I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons about being a smaller individual doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Hopefully you can find this insight valuable from someone who's been training Jiu-Jitsu for close to 6 years and has always been one of the smallest people in the gym. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and hit that like button at the bottom of the screen because I appreciate it. And not only that, but the YouTube algorithm also appreciates it, and apparently that matters, so do it, I guess. So one of the first pros that I'm going to talk about in being smaller and doing Jiu-Jitsu is building determination. Now that sounds corny and cheesy, but it's true. If you lose more than you win and you stick with something and you keep grinding until eventually you do start winning, your determination grows. I'm a firm believer in the idea that determination, willpower, things like that are skills that you can develop. Putting yourselves in challenging situations like Jiu-Jitsu, being smaller, having to deal with people bigger than you, stronger than you, longer than you, is a good way to build that willpower, build that determination, and build your self-confidence. And that's why building determination is an advantage of being smaller and doing Jiu-Jitsu, because you're challenging yourself. Another one of the advantages of being smaller and doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that, once you've been training a little while, you'll figure out that bigger opponents, stronger opponents, taller opponents, they leave more space. So when it comes time to recover your guard or pass someone's guard, their longer limbs are actually a disadvantage for them. When I'm on bottom, I can slide my knee in almost anywhere just because their legs are so long and their hips are so high that it makes it almost easy for me. As a smaller person and being forced to focus so heavily on the technical part of Jiu-Jitsu and not just winning, I'm able to recognize the opportunities that larger individuals leave when it comes to space in recovering, passing, like I said, takedowns, any of the above. There's two reasons for that. I'm focused on technique as a smaller individual because I don't have a choice. My legs are shorter, their legs are longer. I can get my knee to my chest, and that extra 2 or 3 inches of space that is between their knees and their hips, that's gonna allow me to get my guard back. So it can be really frustrating for bigger individuals when they can't pass your guard. So a couple other advantages I'm gonna talk about being smaller is being forced to focus on technique and not rely on your physical attributes like strength, as well as competitions being less intimidating. Competitions being less intimidating is solely based on the fact that as a smaller person, it's gonna be hard for you to find people your size and weight to roll with in the gym. And so the idea that you'll go to a competition and have 5 or 6 potential opponents that are the same weight and size as you makes me a little less scared to compete and a little more excited. One of the biggest advantages you're going to have over larger individuals with the same amount of training as you is, unlike stronger opponents, you are forced to rely on technique. Jiu-Jitsu is amazing because technique will overcome strength and size and speed and athletic ability. Being that you're smaller, instead of falling back on your strength or your physical attributes, you're gonna be forced to use the techniques that you learn in class, and that's gonna help you progress faster. That's gonna help you learn faster, and you're gonna learn a purer form of Jiu-Jitsu because of it. That is one of the biggest advantages that I've found myself in doing Jiu-Jitsu, is that my technique is very good, because if it works on someone 50, 60, 70 pounds heavier than me, that means that I'm doing something right. I'm not muscling it because I don't have the muscle to use. Now I'm gonna talk about some of the disadvantages to being smaller in the gym. One disadvantage is that when it comes time to roll, larger opponents are gonna use their strength more. And there's no real way to avoid that, especially when you're just starting out and your training partners are just starting out. If they're bigger and they learn a technique of the day, a key lock or a kimura or something, they're gonna be more likely to try and force you to the positions that they need you to be in to work the technique instead of setting it up. Whereas being smaller, you don't really have a choice. You can't muscle through things. So you don't get to work those positions as often. The larger opponents will submit you more. And there's no way to avoid that because they can use their muscle and their strength against you. You don't really have a tool to fight back until you learn more technique. Something else that I've run into being a smaller jiu-jitsu practitioner is that if I do get to a dominant position, whether it be side control or mount top or even back, if I have an opportunity to submit someone, my opponent, if they're bigger than me, is going to fight tooth and nail to not tap. And that's true of anyone, right? Whether you're small or big, you don't want to tap. But being bigger, you have the advantage of strength on your side. A lot of times, I could get to a dominant position, and the person on bottom, though they know better, they know the technique better, they just bench press me off of them. Now, I can mitigate that somewhat by working on my center of gravity, figuring out how to hold the positions better. And this is just another example of how I would need to focus on technique more. Though I can't prevent my training partners from not using their strength, just like they can't prevent me from using speed. When I'm rolling with someone bigger than me, especially starting out, I'm gonna be on bottom more. I'm gonna be playing my guard more. Just because if I do go to a dominant position, my opponent will roll me over, use their strength against me. And that's okay. But what ends up happening is my bottom game gets really good, but my top game suffers. And I don't have the option or the opportunities to work that as much. Having trained jiu-jitsu for a while, I didn't really get to practice my top game until I was already fairly established as a blue belt. I was a 2-stripe blue belt before I started working takedowns, before I started working passing, solely because I could control my partners more if they were less technical than me. The saying that you hear a lot when people are talking about jiu-jitsu is you have to learn how to lose. Losing is so common in jiu-jitsu because you don't know anything. Well, when it comes to being smaller, you lose more. And that's frustrating, but that's where it builds your determination. That's where it makes your technique more technical. That's how you take advantage of being a smaller person doing jiu-jitsu. Just gotta suck it up and keep training. It's not easy, but you're gonna reap the rewards later down the road because you stuck with it. Now, these are my thoughts about being smaller and doing jiu-jitsu. Obviously, these are all from my perspective. I don't have the ability to say it's better to be bigger than smaller. I know that strength matters in jiu-jitsu, even at the black belt world champ level. All right, thanks for watching the video, everyone. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and like the video if you did like the video. Shows me that you guys appreciate the content I'm creating, and it makes me want to create more in the future. Thank you a lot. See you guys next time.